Welcome back, everyone. You want to do that again with the sweater?
No, perfectly okay.
Okay, we're going to try to get this in 10 minutes, okay?
Okay, let's go.
Chuck Muscanian,
Jesse, how are
founding member of the Rochmon Record Club. And once again, we're going to talk about one of the albums that Rochmon is going to present right here at Cafe Lena.
Yeah.
None other than Elton John's Yellow Brick Road. Now, just to set the stage for you a little bit, real great bands, like you could go to the Beatles, you could go to the Stones, you could go to the Police, David Bowie. Pick your band. In that time frame, these bands would just learn to be on top of their game by kind of outdoing each other and raising the bar on every album that they made.
Yeah.
And it was such a delight at the time to hear what the latest album by Led Zeppelin might be.
Yeah.
You know, and it was always just such an amazing surprise. Well, Yellow Brick Road, double album, right?
Double
Elton
album.
John.
Yeah, the seventh record, seventh album.
Seventh album. And of course, you know, in between Elton John and Yellow Brick Road, you got like Madmen Across the Water and stuff like that, right?
Don't Shoot Me, I'm Only the Piano Player. I
my
mean, just
God.
Tumbleweed Connection, just Honky Chateau.
Yeah.
I mean, just amazing records, amazing records.
Yellow Brick Road, why'd you pick that?
Well, it's expansive, and it's just a quality album. It's got so many, you know, I love the music, right? That's what brings me in first. But there's so many good stories. And there's so many good stories about Elton John that it just felt like this was the album that, and plus it has my favorite song on it, Saturday Night, It's All Right for Fighting, right? It's my favorite Elton song. But as a double album, it's one of the most satisfying double albums there is for me. I love this record. Every song is good, which says a lot. Some songs are great, and some songs are absolutely outstandingly amazing.
Well,
so
let's
it's just let's
dig into it a little bit. At the time that Yellow Brick Road came out, the opening, Funeral for a Friend.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever heard anything like this. This lush, orchestrated, heavy sounding sonic boom starts working into your psyche, builds you up to the point where you move right into Funeral for a Friend and Saturday Night.
Yeah, and the thing is that with Funeral for a Friend, a large part of that, the first minute and a half, is David Henschel, which is the engineer on the album.
That's right.
He's the guy that did all the synthesizer work. It was an ARP 2500. It was a monophonic synthesizer, and he layered it and layered it and layered it, and he did it all because Gus Dudgeon, the producer, asked him to, and Elton John said, "Yeah, sounds great. Let's do it." You know,
quick
opening.
sidebar on Gus Dudgeon. His producer from the very beginning. It's a little bit funny. The string arrangements and everything else, all done by Gus Dudgeon.
Yep.
Again, if you go back into that era, the producer played this wonderful role with so many of these artists, right?
Yeah.
When you think about the great producers, he's one of them, and tracked his career all the way along.
Yeah.
They grew together.
Yep.
Don't you love that idea?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to jump into Saturday Night Live. Is all right for fighting.
Saturday Night's all right for fighting. No, not Saturday Night Live. That's a whole different thing. That's a whole different
Saturday
thing.
Night's all right for fighting. Pretty much Elton John, piano player, brilliant piano player. Melody, structure, gospel influences, all those kinds of things. Here comes Saturday Night. Davy Johnson, right?
Davy Johnson, yeah. The
guitar song.
It's a guitar song, and Davy Johnson hits on the riff. They go in Elton loves it. They work it out. They go in the record. They weren't spending a lot of time. They were spending hours working out the songs. They go in to record it, and it's speeding up, it's slowing down, it's falling apart. They don't know what to do. Elton says, "I'm not going to play," and he steps out, and he runs around the studio while they're tracking it. He runs around the studio and pumps everybody up, cheerleading them along. They'll rock, just really rock it out. Really make this as rock and roll as hard as you can. And when they're done, they track the backing tracks. Elton goes in, records his piano part, does his vocal, heads off to Paris for the night. The guys finish up the rest of the song. I mean, it's just an amazing, and it's a tour de force. It's such a great song. And the song right before that is Your Sister Can't Twist, but She Can Rock and Roll,
yeah, that's
right?
That's right.
And that song is this weird, cheesy, sort of Farfisa organ sounding thing, and it ends, and it's a dent, and it's a and it's like, oh my God! It's like, you know, if you're not going 90 miles an hour in a 45, you're not driving your car. I mean, it's just one of those songs that's meant to speed to.
It just has so much rock.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you talk about a song that rocks. You know, if you move kind of to the other side. And I think you were telling me there's 18 songs
Yeah.
on Yellow Brick Road, but Candle in the Wind. You know, if you want to take arguably what could be the opposite sentiment, emotion, and you move away from Saturday, you move into Candle in the Wind.
Yeah.
And many of you who are younger might recognize that because at the time Princess Di passed away,
Yep.
Elton did a version to pay tribute to her.
Yep.
What
She
a
was
beautiful
good friend.
song.
Yeah,
Oh, they were
good
great
friend-
friends.
Good friend
That's
of
right.
hers, yeah.
Holy mackerel. Album was recorded in France, right?
Yeah, Chateau de
Is it
Harbour.
Chateau, by the way, where the Stones recorded, where Bowie recorded, very famous, Chateau.
Yeah.
And all of the ghosts in the walls that would love to be able to tell you the stories that actually went on. But before they went there, they did a little side trip to Jamaica,
They
right?
were going to try to record in Jamaica. Charlie Watts had told them the Stones had just recorded Goat's Head Soup down in Jamaica. Charlie Watts told them it was a good studio. It was easy to get stuff done, and they went down there, and it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. I think Ali and
Tomorrow,
Frazier,
man.
the Ali and Frazier fight was happening at the time, and so the island was completely up for grabs. And Gus Dudgeon said he knew there was a problem when the engineer told his assistant to go get the microphone. Then he knew at that point that they had a problem because they put 20 mics on the drums. You know, it's like the microphone. How can that
that's right.
possibly be? So.
Although, you know, something that I also want to point out here is the fact that bands like this that were so tight, that knew each other so well, they'd go into a recording studio with an idea. They might, you were saying that, you know, Elton would play the piano at breakfast. They'd get an idea, they'd go in the studio, they'd nail it, and they'd leave it. You know, when you think about all of this sort of overproduction that we're exposed to now, where everything is just manufactured, the vibe, here we go with the word vibe
the
again.
vibe,
right?
yeah.
The vibe was right.
Feeling.
You go in the studio, they'd nail it and leave.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Next,
done.
what are we doing
Next.
tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. And what they were doing tomorrow was they would walk down to breakfast, and there'd be Elton at the piano that was in the breakfast room, playing a song on the piano and starting to sing the melody and starting to sing the words, and they would have their breakfast, listening to him work up the song. They'd come over, they'd work out a couple of arrangement things that they were doing, and they'd go in the studio. Gus Dudgeon would listen to them do a run through, make a couple of suggestions, track the song.
Yeah,
I mean, they were banging out at least a song a day, sometimes three, as many as 3 songs a day, which is
Of the caliber of the music that we're talking about.
Not a clunker on the album. You know, there's this joke about there's some killer, there's a lot of filler.
Yeah,
that's
right.
not this album.
That's right.
This is all killer and there's no filler. Every song is a great song, and every song is a really good song. There's some songs that are really great.
Yes.
But you know, certainly bars that they hit in this, but they are really just so on top of it, and it's so well done.
Well, you know what? That speaks again to the whole idea that so many of these bands, they were aware of this friendly competition. They were aware that they were raising the bar, and they were just on top of their game. You know, it's a wonderful story. Is the story of the relationship between Elton John and Bernie Taupin. His lyricist, Bernie Taupin, and Bernie would submit poetry to him, lyrics to him.
Yeah.
They never sat down and worked together.
Nope. They met almost completely by accident. Elton was doing working in a studio doing demos, writing music and doing demos, and he knew he was terrible at writing lyrics. And the studio had sent out Liberty Records actually had placed an ad looking for lyricists and musicians. That's how Elton. Well, actually, it was Reg Dwight at the time.
Oh my God, that's right.
Started,
His real name.
His real name.
That's right.
Started working there, and then Bernie Taupin, who was his family were chicken farmers out in rural England, saw the ad and put together a bunch of his words in an envelope with a cover letter, and then got cold feet and said, I'm not going to send it in. Stuck the envelope on the mantle in his house. His mom sees the envelope, says, oh, Bernie must have forgotten to send this, and she goes and posts the envelope.
That's great.
So it gets to the studio, the guy gets the lyrics, and Elton says, Reg, again, I have to remember, it's Reginald Dwight at this point, says, I'm just terrible at writing lyrics. He says, well, here's this guy, he sent me a bunch of words, see what you can do. Elton went home that day and wrote songs to all the lyrics.
Yeah.
None of them were any good, but it was the beginning. And one of the things that happened is they sent a letter back to Taupin saying, thank you for the lyrics. If you're ever in London, stop by and see us. A month later, Taupin shows up in London with a cardboard suitcase, some more words, and like 3 or 4 changes of clothing. And he walks in the studio, and they're just sitting there going, okay, he's here now. And Reginald Dwight walks out and says, are you the lyric guy? And he says, yeah, come with me. They started living together in an apartment. It's completely, heterosexual arrangement. At that point, Reginald Dwight had not figured out what his sexuality was, which was a big deal. And they were roommates together, and they started writing together, and they've never broken up. They've continued.
You know,
to
I
do
don't
stuff
care
together.
how many times you listen to Tiny Dancer. I don't care how many times you listen to Levon. I don't care how many times you listen to
Rocket Man.
99% Rocket Man. You just realize the imagery and just how these relationships are formed.
Yeah.
We are so out of time. We got to rock.
All right, cool.
Cafe Lena, the date.
It's the 19th.
19th, Cafe Lena.
I think.
I got news for you. Blood on the Tracks, they just
21st?
finished.
It's the 21st.
21st. Why would you know?
I don't know why I'd know. We have 2 shows.
Okay.
The first show is sold out. The second show is the 21st, and tickets are
Look,
available.
like Blood on the Tracks, you have to
get
come
there.
see this, because the audience relives every single moment of the first time that you heard this record. And if you're young enough and you haven't heard it, this is the time to educate yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. You will get educated.
Great
too.
to
It's
see
a
you
great
as
time.
always.
Yeah.
We're out of time.
Jesse. Yeah,
this is it.
Thank
Till
you.
next time. We'll see
Benny
you.
and the Jets.
See this interview again. Andrew.
Thank you.
See this interview again. You can head to our website, looktvonline.com.